All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to talk about the Buccaneers winning the NFC South. Obviously, that was one of our favorite divisions to talk about throughout the year because we just had no idea who was going to win. At one week, it was the Falcons, one week, it was the Saints. But ultimately, it ended up being, and then obviously, the Bucks, of course, and the Bucks were able to take it. And they scared me a little bit because, they lost to the Saints, didn't look good. And then, they only ended up beating the Panthers 9-0. It just it wasn't an impressive win. But hey, listen, they were able to get it done. They're in the playoffs now. See, this is what worries me though going into this playoff game though against the Eagles is the fact that they were hot for a few weeks and then all of a sudden against the Saints and the Panthers now they look flat. And now this is why I think the Eagles can still win. But again, we'll see what happens. But listen, for the Bucks, again, like the Packers, I don't know if the Packers were supposed to be one of the worst teams in football, but the Bucks were definitely looked at as a team that was going to be really bad this year because now no Tom Brady, bringing in Baker Mayfield, it just seemed like, and you lost some guys, obviously. It looked like the Bucks were going to be a bad team, but listen, give them credit. And Todd Bowles, being the head coach, they were able to make it. Baker Mayfield finished with a 94.6 QB rating, 28 touchdowns to 10 interceptions, 4,000 yards passing. Put together a good season. Now, the final game of the regular season was not great. Well, the last two games of the regular season were not great. I mean, Baker, 137 yards passing, 20 of 32. It just wasn't great. And the Panthers, they left some points off the board. If we can go back to when that... Yeah, so there was a fumble. This would have put the Panthers up. Bryce Young connected with DJ Chark for a 43-yard touchdown. But he ended up fumbling the ball right before he crossed the plane. And Antoine Winfield picked it up. Actually, no, he caused the fumble. Jamel Dean, he recovered it. So that was one touchdown that was left off the board. And then I don't remember where the other one was because it was so the running back for the Panthers, Raheem Blackshear, he ran in a touchdown, but that got called back for I believe a holding penalty. So, if they end up scoring points out of that, who knows what ends up happening? The Bucks end up probably losing, and then the Saints end up winning the division. So yeah, I don't feel great for the Bucks going into this game against the Eagles, but listen, I'm happy for Baker. They could definitely win this game on Monday. They definitely the Eagles are a different team than they were the last time they played each other. This is going to be a close game. Prior to these last 2 weeks, the Bucks were playing really well offensively. Baker Mayfield was playing well. So I'm hoping that they win. Of course, being a Giant fan. And the Eagles, the downward spiral that they've been on. I just can't believe it, like how bad they're playing. And now they got guys that are hurt. The Bucks have the Bucks have a really good chance to win the game on Monday. Obviously, we're not gonna. We'll talk about it more throughout the week, and on Monday, of course. And it's just weird how they played on Monday night, right, in Tampa. These two teams, and now they're gonna be playing on Monday night again. These two teams on ESPN. They couldn't give ESPN a different game. I don't know. But that's just how it is because of course Fox has to get the Cowboys. NBC ended up getting the Lions and the they got three games. They got the 4:30 game and then they got the on Saturday and they got the Peacock game later that day and then of course they have the Sunday night game and then CBS only has one game. CBS, Fox, and ESPN all have one game. NBC has three, basically. Which I'm a little curious on how when it comes to the broadcasters, who's going to be doing those games? But we'll see. Because, I mean, Collinsworth and Tirico will be there for Sunday night, but are they also doing the Peacock game on Saturday? So are they going to do the Kansas City game, and then they're going to fly out to Detroit? Because they might have, because I know they had Iron Eagle's son do the Steelers-Bengals game for that NBC doubleheader. So maybe they're going to do the same thing. I don't know. All right, that got off topic. But anyways, with this division though, with the NFC South, I mean, listen, I hope that Baker stays as the quarterback at least for next year. I feel like, he has earned the right to start another year for Tampa. But I think, they should definitely consider, we'll see if they, maybe take a quarterback so he could sit behind Baker. Because I don't know. I don't know if Baker's going to be the long-term answer there, But I think the fact that he was able to play well this year and they were able to win a title, it was, it's good. It's good. It's impressive, what they were able to do. Because also they had, a messy cap situation, so that's why it was just like people weren't sure if they were going to be a good team, but yeah, they were able to finish 9-8, make the playoffs. I mean, listen, and now it's anything can happen. But if the Saints ended up making it, the Saints would have been coming in hot because the last two games were really impressive for them. They beat the Bucks, of course, in week 17. And then, against the Falcons, they won 48-17, and they lost to them earlier in the year in Atlanta. And Derek Carr played probably his best game of the year, I would say, or I would say this was his best game. 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, 22 of 28, 264 yards passing. They had no Alvin Kamara in this game, and they still ran the ball for over 150 yards. Their rookie, Kendre Miller, he had 73 yards rushing and a touchdown. Taysom Hill had 51 yards rushing. Jamal Williams had 26 rushing yards and a touchdown. A.T. Perry had 2 touchdowns in this game. Olave had one, which was an impressive catch. It got juggled up in the air, and he was able to hold on to it. If you guys know what I'm talking about. And then Rashid Shaheed caught a deep touchdown pass, a long touchdown pass. He had 3 receptions for 65 yards. Yeah, the Saints ended up. That was a blowout win for them, and it was close. I mean, the Falcons were up 14-7 after the first quarter. They scored on their first drive. Actually, both teams scored on their first. The Saints punted to start the game, but then Falcons scored a touchdown. Saints scored a touchdown. Falcons scored another touchdown. Saints scored another touchdown. So it was 14-14 after the first quarter, actually. So I don't know why on the box score it has. I guess because that drive led into the second quarter. But yeah, like the second touchdown, that was a 71-yard reception by Bijan Robinson for a touchdown. I mean, the Saints, just did not cover him, and he was left open. And Desmond Ridder actually had to get the start in this game because Taylor Heineke got ruled out because he was injured. And they actually ended up putting in Logan Woodside at one point. But yeah, Desmond Ridder threw a pick in this game. Yeah, and then at the end of the game, it was weird. So the Saints were in victory formation, but then they decided they just were going to run a play to get Jamal Williams a touchdown, and that just caused this whole, controversy because they ended up scoring a touchdown. Because Jamal Williams, he led the league in rushing touchdowns last year, and he had none this year. And the Saints got him a touchdown. Jameis Winston was in at quarterback for that play. Arthur Smith was not happy. He was yelling at Dennis Allen, and Dennis Allen in press conference apologized to him. And now Arthur Smith is out of a job. And now it's just talking about like sportsmanship and things like that. I mean, I guess you probably shouldn't have lined up in victory formation. So then not to catch the Falcons off guard, but I mean, it's 41-17 already. I mean, does it really matter? I mean, that's what, you know, that was on Jameis. Jameis is the one that, you know, they orchestrated that. That wasn't. It doesn't seem like that was Dennis Allen's call. That wasn't Dennis Allen's call. Um, but yeah, I do agree. Also, it's like, well, then don't give up 41 points to the Saints. This was a big game for both teams, and one team showed up and the other one didn't. Well, I mean, one team showed. I mean, both teams showed up. For the first quarter and a half, but then it was just all Saints the rest of the way. So yeah, I mean, for the Eagles, they're lucky they don't have to play the Saints because they'd have to go to New Orleans, and the way Derek Carr was playing the last 2 weeks, yeah, you're lucky the Saints didn't make the playoffs. But you know what? Shame on the Saints. If they were consistent throughout the year, they'd be in the playoffs right now. But the early season struggles and the inconsistencies, and that's why you're on the outside looking in. But for a lot of these teams, it takes a while for them to get going, and the Saints, took them basically to the end to, be like, hey, we're the Saints. We got a good team. What are we doing? But yeah, they're on the outside looking in, and now we'll see what happens with the Falcons. Are they going to get a new head coach? Well, actually, they are going to get a new head coach. What am I saying? I just said Arthur Smith is going to get fired. Is fired. So we'll see what they end up doing there. Are they going to have a new quarterback? That's the other thing. Because there's rumors about Justin Fields maybe getting traded. Depending on what the Bears decide to do, if they say, you know what, we're going to go in a different direction, maybe it's possible. But or maybe they take one in the draft. We'll find out. In the coming months, we'll see what ends up happening. But yeah, the Bucks, NFC South champions. And like I said, they'll be playing the Eagles on Monday, and we'll continue to talk about that throughout the week. Because now it's just the NFL, and then before you know it, it's going to be over, and then then it's really just we talk about the draft, and I guess maybe here and there talk about spring football because that'll start up. But yeah, that's where we're at right now. So when we come back from our final break of the show, we're going to talk about the Steelers getting back to the playoffs as well. I mean, I kind of labeled the segments for both them and the Packers, but I tried to word them differently as best as I could because it kind of just, it's pretty much the same topic. It's, the Packers made it. We didn't expect that. Steelers made it. Yeah, it didn't really, well, the Steelers, I think earlier in the season, I think more people would say the Steelers were more likely to make the playoffs than the Packers. If you were comparing the two teams, if one of them was going to make it, the Steelers were going to be more likely to. But now they're both in. Well, then it changed. Like I said, roller coaster. This was another team, roller coaster season. So we'll get into them when we come back from our final break of the show. So for the final time, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.